Hello. Okay, so today we're going to talk about static electricity. I'm going to have a few videos on this. So we'll start with the introduction. Okay, so we're just going to talk about a few things that you need to learn before we get into the nitty-gritty of static electricity. Okay, so let's start. Before you learn about static electricity, you need to know how to count charges, and you need to know a couple of rules. So let's start with counting charges. This is a drawing of a pith ball. It's basically a string with a little piece of styrofoam that you might find with the packing material, okay? So a pith ball looks like this, okay? You have just something to hold it, piece of string and styrofoam, and the reason we use styrofoam is it holds charges quite well. When this is attracted to stuff, it will actually swing outwards. If something's over here, it'll get pulled towards it, or if it's repelled, pushed away, it's going to go away from the object, right? So that's a pith ball. So I have some drawings of some pith balls, and we're just going to count the charges just to know what the overall charge is. So let's do number one. I have two positives, and so 2 pluses and 4 minuses. So overall, I have a charge of -2. I'm just adding them up, right? Here I have a charge of +3 and -3. That ends up being overall 0, which we call neutral. It has no charge overall. And this one, if I count it out, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pluses and 2 minuses. So overall, I have a charge of +4. Okay, so that's just 3 quick examples of how to count a charge in an object. Obviously, the real object has millions of atoms and protons and electrons, so we're not actually counting electrons. There would be millions of them. We're just sort of doing a quick representation of like its overall charge. Will it be negative? Will it be positive? Okay, you should know that objects in nature are neutral. Okay, so this marker, if I haven't done anything to it, I can assume it's going to be neutral. This blackboard, in general, if nobody's rubbed anything on it, if nobody's done anything to it, it's going to be neutral. Okay, so 2 quick rules of static electricity. Opposites attract, okay? And second rule is positives never move. We're going to talk about this in a second, but you definitely need to remember these rules. People make mistakes on tests and quizzes just because they forget these simple rules. Opposite charges attract, positive and negative will pull each other towards each other, and the opposite's true. So if you have similar charges, a positive with a positive, they push away. If you have a negative with a negative, they push away, they repel. Second rule, positives never move. We're going to go over it, but these positives don't move. When I do anything with static electricity, if you draw those positives somewhere else, you're doing it wrong. So first thing you do if you ever have to draw some charges is you redraw the positives exactly where they were, because positives never move. Repeat after me. Positives, yeah, say it. Positives never, okay, move. Okay, so let's practice a bit with these 2 rules. negative. Okay, we're back. So I have two types of problems here. The first one, I think we already did, so let's just go through it very quickly. The first question I'm going to ask you, do they attract or do they repel? Okay, so I'm just going to write attract or repel. So first one, let's see. I'm going to have to count the charges. You already know how to do that. Take a look. How much charge does this have? It has +2, and I count 4 negatives, so it has an overall charge of -2. This one has 4 positives and 2 negatives, +2. Is it going to attract and repel? The first rule was opposites attract, right? So if it's opposite, they pull together. If it's similar, they push apart. So these are opposite, right? I have a negative, I have a positive. Overall, this one is negative and this one is positive. So opposites attract. This is going to pull and that's going to pull. They attract. Next one. Take a look at it. What I suggest is you pause this video right now and try it on your own. You can do the next two. Okay, so hopefully you tried it. Let's check to see if you got it right. I have 4 positives, 2 negatives, that's +2. 3 positives, 1 negative, that's +2. This is overall positive, that's overall positive. If opposites attract, similar charges repel. They are going to push away from each other. Okay, last one. I have +2, -5, overall charge -3, +3, -6, that's overall -3. This one is overall negative. This one is overall negative. Similar charges repel. They are going to push away from each other. Okay, so never forget, opposites attract. Okay, next. This is the trickier question. If I give you on a test a question, or if you get it in the June exam, which one's it going to be? Yeah, right, it's going to be the harder one. Okay, but it's not hard. So we're going to do this one together. The question is asking, what is the charge of this unknown pith ball? Now there are a couple of clues. First of all, you have the charges, and the second of all, you notice that the strings are pushing away. So what is the charge here? +4, -3, with an overall charge of +4 -3 is +1. So it's overall positive. Now I know that they are pushing away. They are repelling. What was that last rule we did? Well, opposites attract, similar charges repel. So if it's repelling, this must be positive. Let's do that. Positive is the answer. We don't know what the exact charge is. It could be +5, it could be +3, +5, +1. But we know it's positive because they must be pushing away from each other. Okay, next one. Actually, pause the video now. Try the next two on your own. Okay, so we're going to solve it. You should have done it on your own now. If you're just watching me do it, you're not learning anything. Okay, +4 -2, that gives me an overall charge of +2. Okay, +2. Okay, I know that that is positive. They are doing what? They are attracting. Opposites attract. Therefore, this one must be negative is the answer. Last one. I need to know the charge of that pith ball. I have +2 -5. That gives me a charge of -3. So this is overall minus. Is it attracting or repelling? It's repelling. They are pushing away from each other. Therefore, this has to be the same charge. So this one, the answer is negative. Okay, so hopefully you understood that. If not, try it over and over again, okay? Okay, so as your review, opposites attract, that's the first rule you're gonna have to learn. You're gonna learn the second rule later, or at least practice it later. And the three types of problems you have to be able to answer are, you have to be able to count charges, the pluses and minuses. You have to predict, if you're given two, you have to be able to predict whether they attract or repel based on whether they are positive or negative. And you have to be able to find out what charge something has if it is attracted to something you know. So if it's attracted to a positive charge, you know it must be negative, and you would say it's negative because it has to be opposite. Okay, those are the three types of problems you need to know for now. Practice them, learn them, and I'll see you in the next lesson.